Anymore in mainstream media, you often hear headlines or see headlines of rape and murder and all these other atrocious crimes. But there is one crime that I ran across today, a supposed crime, that was perpetrated by a man named Arnold. Arnold Abbott is his name. He is a 90-year-old, respectfully. And Arnold's on the line today because I just wanted to talk to him about this because he has perpetrated this supposed societal crime in Fort Lauderdale of feeding the homeless. So, Arnold, thanks so much for coming on. First off, I want to ask you to sort of just take the stage and explain your story.
All right. It starts back in 1991 when I lost my beautiful angel wife, Maureen. She and I had fed the homeless together for many years. And when I lost her, I decided the best living memorial I could possibly do would be to have a full-time program in her name. And so I started the Maureen A. Abbott Love Thy Neighbor Fund. And we have been working to help the homeless in many ways since 1991. We not only feed them on a regular basis, we feed approximately 1,400 people every week. And if you multiply that by 23 years, that's a lot of people. But we also believe that the best thing we do is probably the Love Thy Neighbor Culinary Skills Training Program, where we take homeless people who are temporarily sheltered in one of our homeless shelters, which there are three, and we give them a course which is 9 weeks in length. We teach them how to cook, and we particularly emphasize the sanitation part of cooking, because our aim is not only to put them to work, but to teach them and get them the ServSafe, the vaunted certificate that allows them to work. It's almost like an automatic job certificate, because once they show that to somebody, they're automatically hired. I've had them in a line of 22 people looking for a job in a new restaurant, and somebody pulled that out and they said, "You're hired immediately." So that to show you what happened, every Sunday at 1 o'clock we feed at a park called Stranahan Park in downtown Fort Lauderdale. And we realized that on October the 22nd, the City Commission, the mayor, had passed a law which was very repressive to all homeless people. It pretty much said that nobody can feed them other than indoors. And we, of course, have been on the street feeders for the last 23 years. We fed on the beach at Fort Lauderdale, and we feed in the park. We fed other places too, and have been chased by the city. However, on this day, I realized that the new laws are in effect, and that I probably would be arrested. I went to the offices. There were 5 police cars with their lights flashing, and the officers were there. I went over to them and I said, "I believe I will be arrested, but I don't want any of my volunteers to be cited in any way. And would you please allow them to set it up? I will do the feeding," which ordinarily takes 10 to 12 volunteers. But we had 2 clergymen with us, and they insisted on staying with me. So that they said the answer was that anybody who touches any food, anybody who sets up a table, anybody who does anything to help will be arrested also. So I immediately went back to my people. I told them to please stand away, do not come near the tables. And I started feeding. And I had fed 3 people out of a possible 200 that were in line. And the 4th time I started to put food into a plate, I felt a hand on my arm. There was a police officer. He said, "Put that plate down right now." So I was holding a weapon in my hand. And then he put his hand on my back and said, "You're going to the police car." So I went without any fuss, and they did the same thing to the two clergy who were with me. And they wrote up a citation, which is what is called arrest without handcuffs. Then I was allowed to go back to my people, and they allowed me to take the food away and put it back in the insulated boxes. We bring it in to keep it at the right temperature and to put it back in our van. And subsequent to that, we did go to an African-American church that allowed us to use their driveway and parking lot, and we succeeded in feeding about 200 people. So that's what happened. And tomorrow night, Wednesday, I will be feeding on Fort Lauderdale Beach, where I beat them in court 15 years ago. And as far as my lawyer is concerned, we still have an injunction that stops them from preventing us from feeding the homeless on the beach, which is absolutely a beautiful place. And I feel that they won't pay any attention to the injunction, and they will proceed to do exactly what they did in the park. So that brings you up to date.
Yeah, thanks for that, Arnold. Now, what I just find so beautiful in this is just your complete defiance of authority, your defiance of these immoral, unjust laws, because we know what's legal isn't always what's right. And, it seems that with this crackdown of, feeding the homeless, you mentioned, we did an interview before this, and unfortunately it didn't record, but in that you mentioned, quote unquote, the right to feed. And I was saying how, we hear of, the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and all that great stuff, but the right to feed, everyone requires food. And if these homeless people, these people stricken by poverty can't feed, or can't eat rather, a basic right, if they can't do that outside, I mean, that's just mind-boggling. And it's reminiscent also of what they're doing in China, I believe, under bridges. They're just trying to obstruct homeless people from resting there by installing and deploying these spikes. I mean, it's just atrocious, really. And your civil disobedience just in the face of authority, again, even though you'll be arrested, even though you'll be cited, you're still feeding these people who need the food, and you're really just doing such a great service here. Now, what really, or I guess, where do you get your motivation and energy to do this? Because respectfully, you're 90 years old, but of course, even people who are capable and might be motivated to do this, they aren't doing it. So what, drives you to do this?
Well, I'm just basically a very simple man. I believe in the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. I spent 50 years of my life fighting for civil rights. I went down to Mississippi in the 1960s to register what they called Negroes in those days, and I escaped with my life. 3 of my friends were killed in Mississippi. It's been rough. It's always hard to be fighting for underdogs, but that's what I've done all my life, and I will continue to do it because I don't know of any religion that doesn't say to feed the poor, to leave the corners of your fields for the poor and hungry, to protect the widows and orphans. That's what religion is about. And we're all godly people. I happen to believe that it's God's will that we protect each other, we love each other, and be good to each other. I say that prayer before every one of my feedings. And one of the little antidote is that on the side of our feeding van, where we carry our food, we feed outside of the van. It says that every Love Thy Neighbor feeding, the main ingredient of our food is love. And love is what we do. Love is what we try to project. And love is what we're all about. Love of mankind, love of God.
Yeah, that's definitely a beautiful message, Arnold, and it's one that I think many people seeing this story surface are receiving and hopefully, as you said, projecting in their own lives. Now, second to last question here on the legal side of things. In the article that I read, I believe it said you face up to 60 days in jail with a $500 fine. Some people are saying and arguing successfully that that is a crime in and of itself, given your age. Again, respectfully, that for helping someone, you're actually punished. So, what are your thoughts on that? Facing potential jail time for simply serving the needy.
I'm not concerned with that. I spent 2.5 years in World War II. I was a combat infantryman, and I faced worse things in jail. But I am concerned that I won't be there to feed my friends, and I intend that they're not going to miss a feeding. And I'm fully prepared to take the city of Fort Lauderdale back to court and sue them again, just as I did 15 years ago. And we beat them, and I feel we can beat them again, because I don't think any court in this world would say that carrying a portable potty around with you is a reasonable repressive action. I don't think that's the least restrictive thing they could come up with. And they even have no sleeping zones where the homeless cannot even lay down on the ground. And then they have some vigilantes here who go around 2 to 5 in the morning taking pictures and notifying the police where the homeless are sleeping, so they can come harass them and arrest them. So there's a lot to fight against, and we're fighting for human beings who we love just as God loves everybody. God doesn't play favorites. That's why we do what we do. And I have wonderful volunteers who help me do all this. I couldn't do it all by myself. We have wonderful, wonderful gourmet food that we serve, because there's no reason why our people shouldn't get the best there is. And those are my feelings.
Well said, Arnold. As far as these, vigilantes who go out in the middle of the night taking pictures of these homeless people, reporting them, it just seems that there's no sense of community anymore in our society, not only in Fort Lauderdale, but worldwide, really. So out of this absence of community, out of this absence of love and compassion in our world, what message do you want people seeing this story to get out of this?
Well, basically, human beings should love each other and be good to each other, just as I said. God doesn't play favorites. We owe our fellow man help where it's needed. Good people help people. And the homeless are nothing but a group of people who've hit on hard times. I've had people who were bankers, who were lawyers, who were professional people, many of them. There's an awful lot of talent among the homeless. And we just have to take care of them. That's all. That's our duty. And I'm a simple man, and I can't phrase it any other way, but it's my obligation to look after my fellow man who is experiencing hard times.
Sage words from a sage man, Arnold. I really appreciate you coming on, and especially for doing this interview twice. So that's basically it. Best of luck tomorrow on the beach. Hopefully you don't get arrested. It's just disgusting again to see these people, these police, just puppets really of the higher authority, having to enforce these completely immoral laws that criminalize victimless crimes, criminalize just helping your fellow brothers and sisters. So again, thank you so much, and if there's any final words you'd like to add, feel free.
Yeah, I don't know if I told you, but we have a lot of canals, man-made canals in Fort Lauderdale, and they call themselves the Venice of America. I changed that a little bit, and I call them the city without a heart. And that's what they are.
Those are very, discomforting words, but hopefully through your activism, as you've already expressed, you can bring more comfort to Fort Lauderdale, more love and compassion, of course. So again, Arnold, thank you so much for coming on. Again, best of luck tomorrow moving forward. I'm sure there will be media there to cover the event, and if you do end up in jail or arrested, just know that I and others here are receiving your message and are with you in spirit.
Thank you so very much. You are very kind, and stay tuned. There's more to come.
All right. Thanks again, Arnold. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Peace
Take
and
care.
love.
Bye.